I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and here today with me at VRIC is Todd Anthony, Vice President of Investor Relations at First Majestic Silver. Thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Charlotte. Thanks for having us on your program.
No problem. So, First Majestic just released its 2015 results and outlook for 2016. Can you tell me what the company's goals this year are in terms of production and costs?
Sure. Well, we announced our guidance, and we actually use a range. So for 2016, we're projecting anywhere from 17 to 19 million ounces of silver equivalent, with a cost of around between 12 and the high 12s, all in sustaining costs. So that's down from 2015 of north of $14. So we've cut our costs by about 10-15%, or what we're projecting for this year.
Okay, great. So cost cutting is a big trend amongst, I think, all miners today. And one concern that some people have is that exploration is suffering as a result. How at First Majestic are you balancing cost cutting and continued exploration?
Well, that's a great question, actually. It's very challenging. This year our budget for exploration is only about $7 million, and it's been pretty low for the last few years. We've cut back really any greenfield exploration. A company of our size should be spending 20, 30, $40 million in exploration just to continue to find new ounces in the ground and replenish your reserves and what you're producing. But cost cutting, it's not an easy thing. We've probably re-engineered this business 3 or 4 times over the last 2 years. When silver was $20, we were making money. We were happy, obviously. The silver falls to 18. We've got to go back, re-engineer the business. It falls into 16. We've got to re-engineer the business again. So we must have done that, as I said, 3 or 4 times. And it does, it is a challenging environment. But we've done, I think, a very good job relative to where we were a few years ago. We were burning cash at some of the operations. And we knew we were. We were tweaking them, and now we're starting to see the benefits of those tweaks come into reality. The fourth quarter was a great quarter for us. We'll be announcing our costs in about 3 weeks. So I think the market will hopefully give us credit for what we've done over the last 12 months there. So,
Hopefully. Looking more broadly at the silver market, I think we're starting to see some consolidation. There's been Golden Arrow and Silver Standard, North Arran Kootenay Silver, and you guys and SilverQuest, which you recently acquired. Do you think we're going to see even further consolidation in 2016?
Well, it's possible. I think so. Unfortunately, I would say that there's the quality deposits and companies that are interesting are very small right now. There's not a lot of interesting projects out there that are making money at $14 silver. So, and at the end of the day, it takes 2 to tango when it comes to making these arrangements happen. And for Silvercrest, for example, it just kind of fell in our lap. We've been talking with them for a couple of years, and everything the stars aligned, and it was a great acquisition for us. We paid $105 million for the company, and they're spinning off $3 to $5 million in free cash flow a quarter. So we're extremely happy with getting that deal done, and it came with $30 million in cash. So again, it was just a great time to get that done, and it's now becoming our largest producing mine in Mexico.
Right, that's great. Now you mentioned the silver price. It's about $14 right now. Silver is well known, I think, for being a precious and industrial metal, but lately it seems to be taking its cues from gold, more on the precious side. Where do you see the price going this year?
Well, I think we found the bottom. We keep saying we found the bottom, and it keeps going lower and lower. But we've been in this bear market now for 5 years, and we're at this conference, and you wouldn't expect to see this turnout for a 5-year bear market. It's absolutely a great turnout from the attendees and also the company's side. So I think we'll see the higher prices at the end of the year. You never know. It just depends on, obviously, if the U.S. market continues to crack and money flows out from those high-flying tech sectors and biotech sectors into the beaten-down resource sector. And it's a cycle we always go through, and we're in a cycle right now. So I think, again, higher prices by the end of the year. I'm not saying $20, $30 by the end of the year, but at least, maybe $16, $17, $18. And we'll be making a ton of money at that price. For every dollar that silver moves, we basically profit, around, say, $15 million worth. So, it's a lot of leverage there.
Okay. And we really have had a good turnout this weekend, I think. Although I know some people are still a little concerned about silver. What advice would you give to investors who are a little worried still?
Well, again, you have to believe that you know, silver is a metal that we are not. I don't think the market quite understands. You know, we're producing for every ounce of gold, we're only pulling out 10 ounces of silver out of the ground. Yet silver's trading at 80 to 1 relative to gold. So fundamentally, you know, I think that can't hold up. You know, it has to come back to normal reversion to the mean. And silver's trading at, again, 80 to 1. And we haven't seen these levels in, you know, historically, that's almost a historic high. So if you've been long silver for the last few years, you know, you don't want to sell at the very bottom. So I think it's time to just hang in there and hope that things do improve. And again, you know, it's a cycle we always go through, and it's not the first cycle we've been through. And I think selling now, likely you'll be upset if you do.
Okay.
So.
I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network. First Majestic Silver trades on the TSX under the symbol FR and on the NYSE under the symbol AG.